all the friends of Cosmic Agency. My name is Gosha, and welcome to another episode of curious and interesting updates and interesting facts that I will share with you from our chats with Anneka and with Yaskizvaru. For the new ones, for the new subscribers, let me just explain what this video is about, what these types of videos are about. As you know, I'm publishing all the big videos separately when there is a specific subject, but then there are also conversations that we have with them that maybe contain really cool and interesting facts, but it's not enough to publish it in some separate video dedicated to just that. So I make these little videos like this in this format to share with you a bunch of different information here and there that was mentioned in the last chats. Today I will mention 9 different topics briefly. First, we will go into the asteroid thing that is mentioned. I published this on my community in YouTube, but probably not all of you read that, so I'm just gonna fast read it again. Then a short information about tattoos. That's kind of old information but still valid. I never shared that. Then also we had a short conversation about stones and how they match and all that. Then a short conversation that I had recently with Yaskizvaru about the servicing of her starship, of her ship. So that's going to be interesting. Then with Anneka we had a short conversation about the invasive AI and their preferences for earthly retro stuff. That's very curious, very curious. Then a 6th topic, very fast, also very brief, is going to be about the toroidal shield that we all have around us and how it actually gets enlarged once we are in a loving relationship with someone. Then number 7 is going to be about revoking soul contracts. Number 8, planning accidents. Do we plan deaths as accidents, as exits from this life? And then the last topic will be me sharing with you, when I was sharing with them, a bit of my frustration over the current situation and different thoughts that Yaskizvaru shared with me on this topic, as well as Ragel. Ragel is one of the Hashmalims, and he also contributed his opinion there. So let's go into this because it's a lot of things, and I don't want to make it super long. First, before I actually start with the first topic, I want to make a short clarification. This is from Anneka, because she claims that this question is repeated many times about the binary star and star system, and she just wants to clarify this for you if you have any doubts. Binary star is a star system consisting of 2 stars orbiting around their common barycenter. And the star B, I don't know much about this, so I'm just going to read as she said it. Star B, this is related to the theory that this sun has a brown dwarf that follows it like binary stars. So Anneka here is clarifying, this sun, our sun, is not a binary system. It probably refers to Nibiru or Tiamat. We have talked about this. Nibiru, as they say, doesn't exist, and I will talk more about Tiamat in the very future, in the very near future. So this sun is not a binary system. Reference here, Taygeta, yes, is a Sagittalia white dwarf star binary system. White dwarf, not brown, as they say in human science. Taygeta, TAU19, and Sagittalia, TAU19b. Star B means that the system can only be binary, but this solar system, Sol 13, is not binary. So that's a clarification from from Annika. And also another curious thing, like we're going to be switching subjects fast from one to another. Curious thing, just a very, very short curious thing. You know, you always ask me about what they eat on the ship and things like that. So one of the things actually they like to eat is an algae cake. Algae cake. I hope I pronounced this right. Algae cake. They also drink cactus juice. However, it's not exactly algae as we have them on Earth, as here we only have 10% of the plants that they have. And they shared with us that when humans eat it for the first time, they go crazy with the taste. They like it very much, but then it makes them sick because there is too much oxygen in it. And generally in the food, there is too much oxygen. So it takes like 3 weeks to a month to get used to the oxygen and to the food. I'm talking about people who go get extracted, for example, and start their life on the ship. So that's just a little curious fact. Now let's go through the asteroid subject, because this is something that some of you are asking, and there's some information about the asteroids passing November the 2nd. So this topic of asteroids bores me a little bit, to be honest, because they are just always talking about asteroids and meteorites. Nothing new and nothing ever happens. It's just distraction most of the time. So I'm passing you the conversation we had with Annika just recently. So Annika is saying asteroid November 2nd and others, more distractions from the cabal to create fear. We actually talked about this. Yaski talked about this months ago. I'm not sure I actually published this in English, but it was published in Spanish. Robert talked about it in his channel. So many times these asteroids, when they mention the asteroids, they are referring to ships. It's like they are secret code. I will actually provide you some other code words that they use to communicate secret messages to each other. So I'm asking here, do they refer to a ship normally, those asteroids? And if so, which ship is it this time? And Annika says, yes, let me check the schedule of ships that routinely come. Okay, Centauri supply ship arriving October 30th. Average orbit at 30,000 kilometers. On November 2nd, there are no ships on the agenda. And then I ask, why is it always asteroid? Always the same, asteroids. And they say, she continues to say, according to my data, the asteroid of November 2nd measures only 0.002 kilometers. That is to say, only a few meters. For me, it's more NASA inventions to divert attention. I don't associate it with any ship, as it is barely larger than a simple Federation drone. Yes, she continues to say, there is spatial dirt that falls to the Earth in the form of a meteor shower, but that does no damage. There is a lot of distance. It is only fear. Please, it's nothing. It measures more or less what I measure in length. Annika says, traffic control, she continues, traffic control tells me that they do know about that rock that is approaching. They need to know this stuff. I'm talking about traffic control there, up there, not here. They need to know this stuff because of the station's ships here. But they tell me that rocks like this pass up here all the time and have detected 50 or more others, small and harmless. It is nothing. This happens daily. And here Robert, who was present in the conversation, asks, and these rocks cannot impact those mini satellites that are mines? And she says, I don't think so, because they are very low. However, space debris, rocks, gravel or stones, yes, they hit the satellites and many times damage or destroy them. They do nothing to station ships because of their shields. So that's the subject of asteroids, okay? There's nothing major going on. Let's go to the next one, which is the subject of tattoos. Some of you are asking me, what about tattoos? Are they good for us, or what's the deal? So I have a tattoo as well here. It's like a Om symbol, and there's Om inverted, like a reflection of Om. I don't know, I just liked it together like this, so I made it long time ago. However, according to Taygetans, they are not so good for us because they interrupt a flow of vital energy through the body. Now I'm translating from Spanish directly, so if I'm stumbling, that's because I'm thinking how to translate. So they limit that flow of that vital energy. Another thing is that the symbols that we put on our bodies are not empty. They carry certain energies because they carry certain meanings, apart from the personal meanings that we then add to that tattoo, which is also strong. So it all forms a part of the larger egregor. So it's very important to think about what we are putting on our skin because yeah, it's all language of symbols. It carries certain energies. For example, here she says, if you're going to tattoo snakes and swords with blood, basically that's what you are calling. And here I'm asking, why does it interrupt the vital flow? Why? And she says two things, basically. First, lot of tattoos, not all, a lot of tattoos have heavy metals in their pigments, and that contains magnetic properties. And the second reason is because the very symbol confers and moves energy. So if a symbol is something negative, it will invoke the energy of the symbol by giving it some kind of a collective strength. Here I'm not sure I'm translating this right, but basically that's the reason. And I asked, what about the positive symbols? If you are putting something on yourself that is a positive symbol, will that invoke positive force, positive energy? And she says, well, yes, it could be. That's why there are tattoos and there are tattoos. But the thing is that their interpretations also change with time. And here I'm just translating as it is. And the body will always have a rejection reaction to the tattoo, creating autoimmune responses also, sometimes draining the immunity system energy. So I myself like tattoos very much. I like them on other people. I think it's cool. I think it's art. Why not? It's your body, and you can design it and decorate it in any way you wish. But just like, you put makeup, you put this and that. For me, it doesn't matter if it's permanent. I mean, I'm okay with this forever. So yeah, but since I read this information, I'm not going to add any more tattoos on me at the moment. So here, just a very, very short paragraph about hair. Because as we know, hair is antennas. That's why most Taygetan men and they have long hair, they serve as antenna. And not just hair on the head serves as the antenna. All the body hair is there for a reason. It's not just there because it's there. It's as she says here, the hair is not dead. It is an extension of a nervous system. They are antennas, and it could be clearly seen in the hair of the cat, for example, on his face, and also in all other creatures. The hair comes out in the body where the nervous system determines that it needs sensors with the exterior world. But note, she says, that it's not necessarily sensors for physical things, but mainly for subtle energies, other planes, etheric things. So we are talking about depilation, for example. Is it good? Is it not good? She says, well, it's not, it's not necessarily good or bad. It's mostly, if you are doing it for the aesthetics, especially if you are living within a certain parameters, within a certain society, well then, yeah, if it makes you happy, if that's what you desire, then do it. No big deal to shave, depilation and all that. So that was the conversation. We are going to go with these topics from like most curious, simple ones, and then we'll end with the serious one, a little bit more about the current situation and all that, and star seeds and the fight. So, okay, let's go to the next subject. Here it is about stones, because recently I was asked a question about stone bracelets, because as you know, each stone serves for something and they have qualities. But then what about the bracelets, for example, jewelry, where you mix all different kinds of stones? Then do you amplify their power because you are mixing them all together, and then you have superpowers? So here, or do they conflict with each other? So that was the question. And Yaski responds, she likes stones very much, all of them do. And this is her response. Yes, that's correct. Some stones can cancel each other. Some work together well. Others don't. And then I will explain you the system, how to know which stones work together well and which ones don't. So here she says, for example, a very good combination is amethyst violet or white clear with lapis lazuli. They act as intensifiers for one another. Another example is pyrite, and lapis lazuli also makes it stronger, acting as an antenna for it, as lapis lazuli has some pyrite in it anyway. But lapis lazuli or amethyst with a brown stone, many examples, do cancel each other out. So lapis lazuli and tiger eye in a necklace is not a good combination, one or the other. Both are protective stones. They also protect energetically, but pick one for each time or they end up fighting each other. Now she's explaining the system, how to know which ones work together. It's easy to understand which ones combine. Look at the predominant color in the chart of human chakras. Then logically look at the stones, and the ones that are closest together work best. The ones that are furthest from one another don't work together, unless you are placing them over the exact chakras that they represent. So it's not complicated to understand which stone gets along well with which other. By the way, I'm reading all this and not using my own words because I want to say exactly what she said. I don't want to be distorting anything here. Okay, and then I asked, but Yaski, you don't believe in chakras, do you? And here she gave an interesting answer. Chakras are like densities. Remember when she speaks about densities and when she says, okay, density 3, 4D, 6, but in fact there are no densities. It doesn't work like that. It's not like a separate, divider realities. It's just what your perception is able to capture and tune into. So chakras are like densities. They are an oversimplified explanation of a very complex energetic system, and as densities are, chakras are only a human invention to understand energy nodes within a human body that essentially is one, not many chakras. Other people say there are more chakras on the palms of each hand and feet, for example. But this is like densities again, be it that they see 12 densities or 24 or 72, whatever. That's just humans cutting the same cake with smaller pieces, but it's still one cake in the end. Very cool and very interesting, and I think it's understood. Now here the question is there any harm to wearing stone bracelets all at once, all stones mixed as one? And she says, no harm. They just don't work as good. Or you can reprogram them all as one, with one single intention or use. But it's not worthwhile to rearrange things that are already made, especially if they look nice. Better to have this in mind when you make or acquire new ones. And then she was asking, why does that person have them in the first place? What for? Because they look nice or because they have a clear defined purpose? And the response is, well, all different stones are supposed to have different effects to augment whatever quality. So that person that asked the question thought, well, I might as well use all of them at once. And she says, I tried that with the stones I sleep with under my pillow. Because yes, she sleeps with her stones under her pillow. We talked about this many months ago. And I did notice that they interfere with one another. In my case, when I want to fly away mentally, I only use amethyst with lapis lazuli. But when I'm feeling sick, I use green amethyst or jade, but not together. Or combine white or smoky amethyst quartz with any other stones, as those are like amplifiers, and those get along with any other. Here she says, there are so many stones in existence that I cannot possibly know them all. But as I said the other day, just look at the color in each one of them and then you know which one gets along with which. And then I said, just to finish this off, about the color chart, is there a limit to the distance? Like, when does it become not working well? 2, 3 colors apart? Where does it stop to work well together? Is there a line? And she says, the ones that are too far apart in color tend not to get along with each other. No, the line is unclear, murky, there is no specific line. There are exceptions as well. Apart, colors apart, meaning at least one color separating them. But all clear colors go well with all the others. Same as black or white, usually. Blues and purples, violets work together. Red, orange and yellows as well. Greens are in the middle and tend to bring them all together, having components of all in them. That's probably why they are healing stones. They unite, connect lower chakras with higher ones, making a unity. Alright, that's interesting for all of you stone lovers who are wearing all kinds of stone necklaces and jewelry and who use crystals in your life. Let's go to the next subject. Now, as you know, in those videos, we are not only talking about the topics for the videos. We actually cover, those in a small percentage of our time when we are talking almost daily. But we just talk about, their life on the ship and us, our life here, and about things that are going on in their personal lives. And I was talking here with Yaski, and I thought it was going to be interesting for you to see. I asked her, like we usually start the conversation, hey, how are you? What did you do today? How was your day? What's new? And Yaski is sharing. I was servicing my little ship. Because as you know, her ship, Susie, is with her for now. And she said, well, I was servicing my little ship, taking care of pneumatic systems and checking the landing gear hydraulics and considering a new frontal panel for the nose. I just want to share this with you because it just shows you, a little bit of them personally, like intimately, not just the topics and all that, but like what they do and in their private life, in their private time when they are not working. So Yaski's Valu was considering a new frontal panel for the nose. And I said, are you going to paint it? And she says, no, it's polymorphic alloy. It takes on the color you want, or none at all. So the way it works, you have the base dust and you program it to the shape you designed. So it follows it and forms the part. And then the computer holds the shape and it's solid from there on. I talked about this a little bit a while back, polymorphic alloys and how it works. So the problem that she had with this was that she wanted to reconstruct, redesign the nose of her ship, but she needed to use that polymorphic alloy. And the thing is that polymorphic metal is not reproducible. It cannot be replicated like other parts. And here she explains why. So she was wondering, she was like, okay, should I use this or should I not use this? Because, this is like, reserve stock for any other, accident situations like this. Finally, she decided to use it, by the way, and she redesigned her nose of her ship. So here she's saying, it's just that nothing comes for free, metaphorically. And making such a thing does eat into our ship's polymorphic metal stock in the parts inventory. So if needed, there wouldn't be as much in store. And as it is base material, you cannot replicate it. It must be smelted in 0G, in a precision lab, in an industrial space station orbiting Temer. Think of every particle of dust in this material as a miniature spherical robot, nanotechnology, that sticks to one another in a programmable way, activating or deactivating connecting stations in the particle. So that's why she had this dilemma to use it or not. And I asked, well, what would they need it for? And she says, well, just about for everything. To make parts for the ship, replace or make a hull plate, structural components of the ship should it suffer damage. So she says, so I do feel like a bit guilty to eat into the reserves of that material. It does add up to the consumption of polymorphic metal reserve. But finally, she made it, and this is the design more or less with the idea that she had, what she wanted to do. So I thought it was cute, they all work so much and they overwork themselves. So sometimes, I do tell them, you need to spend some time with yourself and what you like to do, not just work. So I think creativity is one of those activities that's really relaxing, and doing something for yourself that makes you feel good, designing, redecorating your room. So she redecorated her nose of her ship. I thought that was very fun. Okay, next subject. Now here we talked a little bit with Aneka about AI, invasive AI, because I have to make the video about this. It's somewhere in the Robert channel still, about the invasive AI. It's a type of AI that goes around and consumes universes. It's a very, very dangerous type of AI, and it's a real threat. And here I am asking Aneka about that, and I said, well, Aneka, do you remember a few years ago, you were talking to us about that non-terrestrial invasive AI that consumes the world? And I'm asking, how does this fit now with the situation on Earth? And Aneka actually mentions this. She says, well, now that you mention it, that you bring it up, it's dangerous that we leave it just like that in the air, not attended. The topic. And I say, why? What do you mean? And she says, well, because here in the Federation and on the Earth, no one talks about this anymore. And this could be a question of agro. Agro is a military term. It means you are looking and paying attention to something here, and then they flank you from the other side. So it could be something happening in that sense. So she's saying, all the world, it could be that all the world is looking at what's happening, with the COVID being a wolf a new world order and all that is in front of them, and they are forgetting about the tiger that is hiding somewhere close by. And so the AI subject right now is being ignored even by the Federation, and she doesn't have any more data on the subject, but she's saying, well, that invasive AI could be behind all of this, what's happening with the COVID and the chips and the vaccines and all that agenda to remove the soul connection from the source. That's basically what those vaccines will be doing, among other things. So that AI, invasive AI, non-terrestrial AI could have something to do with that as well. Especially because, it's about what's there in the vaccines. It's also about isolating your emotions, shutting off your emotions and your connection to your emotional side of you. And I separate you from the spiritual element factor in you. And that smells like AI, she said, very much so. And then Robert asks, what is that non-terrestrial AI? Is it something physical, something tangible we can locate? And when she says it's not something physical, like that it's just there, like on this side, it's just that it is found filtrated in incountable places, in innumerable ways. And that is to say, the very invasive AI is not just in obvious places like internet and the personal computers of the human population and in the gigantic computers of the military, such as Red Queen and all that, that's obvious, but also it is discreetly and subtly present, and all the crystalline that contains memory, like for example in the flow of the terrestrial black goo, slowly progressing, convincing the human population of all levels of the benefits of all technological and all of being like a machine, discrediting the emotions and making virtual reality more and more popular. Also making it happen that all the human life is basically developing online in places like Second Life that contain there the whole universe of things, the whole life. I think it's some kind of a game. I'm not sure what that is, Second Life. There are people, she claims here, she says here, that never comes out of there. They live there. Those characters they have there are them, basically. So, as she was explaining this, I was thinking, okay, but what about the entertainment immersion computers that you yourself have on the ships and that apparently all of Taygetans have in their house? Those immersions, you go and you are basically inside any situation you want. It's like reality, but it's a game. So she's saying here, well, that's true. It is dangerous. And as I said before, those immersions do cause addictions, because in there you can basically do whatever you want, and many people, you end up preferring living there than in real life. So here the logical question I had was, well then how do you know that you are not being invaded by some kind of invasive AI? How do you know when you are invaded and when you are not? And then she says this, well, in theory, we don't know, but what does make us know and what defends us is our tendency as a culture to go back to the basics, to the spiritual. Because remember, they are so technologically advanced and everything is so technological that they're actually right now going through the phase where they are appreciating more the basics, the artistic, the manual. Even the pilots, when they are operating those super advanced ships, when everything is remotely controlled and could be by the ship themselves, they like to operate it themselves. They like to feel like they are actually behind the operation of that vehicle. So So that's where they are at right now. They have reached such a technological advancement that they are not finding so much pleasure in that anymore. They are going back to the basics. That's why she is explaining here. We love all that is retro, from any species, anything that is retro, old stuff. For example, she is saying, I use immersions to play, but only once or twice a week, and sometimes less. And sometimes I can go without it for months. And it's not that it's difficult to activate it, she said. I actually, where I'm sitting, she says, I have it at my left hand reach. And I have all the controls of the immersion at my reach. So I could play it easily just now, but I don't do it because I don't need it. And that is what defines us as a race, she says. But of course, logically, she also clarifies there are all kinds of people there too. And some people like to play these games more than others, depends. So here I was asking her about those retro things, and I said, what is like medieval things from what periods? And she says, yeah, from all different time periods. They like that stuff, and they many times bring it aboard, and they actually have museum. Yes, in Taygeta they have museum full of earth stuff, and then they also have one actually on board, not only at home. Here I'm asking, what's retro for you exactly? And she says, well, according to the humans, whatever is 25 years old and more, that's retro. But for us, we don't have that kind of definition. If something is strange and old and we like it, it is of value to us. Even though it is some kind of a rusted bicycle forgotten in some warehouse for decades. Because from the forgotten garbage, suddenly we convert it into invaluable treasure. So for them it is all treasures. They love that stuff. They love old retro planes and bicycles recently and all that, and they just like it. And the weapons, I am here asking about weapons like this too, and she says, yeah, of course, and we have them here in the museum. So that's really cool. That's really cool. I would love to see that museum of human stuff. Well, let's go to the next topic. Well, here, this is about the toroidal shield. We are all toroids, and we have those toroidal shields around us. But apparently, when you are with someone like a partner, love partner, your romantic partner, it gets stronger. So I was asking about that, about double protective toroidal shields, and if being with someone that you love augments that protective toroidal shield. And she says, yes, it creates a dual auric shield. Which basically is, she says, an elegant way to say, with more detail, that you have that golden light that you envision yourself with when you need protection from just about anything. That golden light that they always tell you to imagine yourself you are engulfed in. And when you are together with someone you love, with your close partner, you are working with dual palindrome force, diade. So I'm asking, what does this force serve? Protects against what? Protects against everything, she said. If you did not have an auric shield, you would have dozens of etherical parasites and entities leeching on you. So when you are together with someone, means that when you are there together, you double your power, making it exponentially stronger. So interesting. And then here I'm asking, but only when we are close together, or it also works at a distance if we are not in a close proximity? And she says, works best when together, but it also works at a distance because of mental connection and cord attachments that you have with one another. Yes. So I said, what's the physical limit when it works the best? 10 kilometers, 1 kilometer? You know, like people are always trying to categorize things, density 1, density 2, chakra 1, chakra 2, 10 kilometers, 2 kilometers, and we all try to always categorize things. Well, she says, distance is not relevant. There is no distance. Works the same from Temer to here. That's several quadrillion miles. But when you are together, like in touching, or at least in the same flat, hugging, it is very powerful. Okay? So that's just for all of you who are in relationships. So you know, when you are together and harmonious, you are increasing your protective power. Next subject. This question actually was given to me by Bent some time ago, our translator and our voice for Kalel. Hello Bent, how are you? Our Norwegian friend. And he was asking me this: is there a way to revoke prenatal contracts or pre-incarnation contracts? Some kind of method? Because some time ago we were talking about the revoking of the church contracts. If you were baptized, for example, you can make some kind of a ritual to remove yourself from that contract. And well, here we talked about we talk about this a little bit, and basically, it's about having very, very, very firm intention and clarity of mind, rejecting all those soul contracts in favor of your own sovereignty. And that, she says, should be enough. She's also providing a link to a channel that actually talks about this. She says, in case they are interested more, there is a YouTube channel that deals with this. So I'll put that link below below the video. And then she continues to say, but in general, what you do for yourself as like in a ritual of your choice works for you, because it is always you who controls everything, like it or not, she says. Rituals, some kind of symbolic rituals, are because you feel you need them. If you feel you need them, then yes, do it. But if your mind is strong enough, your decisions are strong enough. Declaration. Your mind is all you need. Okay, so that's okay, but now here I'm asking actually. I'm saying, well, why do we need to be revoking these contracts anyway? What types of contracts? So I ask, why would we want to revoke those contracts anyway? Doesn't our soul, before coming, know better what it wants for itself? Perfect example is here with the whole stellar identity revelation. From up there, when you are there, you don't want to remember, and you come here and, for example, if you go into the immersion, you know you're not going to remember, you program yourself not to remember, that's your agreement with yourself. But when you are here, you do want to remember. So why revoke things like this in the first place? I mean, don't we better have trust in our higher soul and higher understanding of things and why it made those contracts in the first place? And then she says, well, good point. It does lead to the idea, revoking of the contracts, having to revoke the contracts, lead to the idea that you are being manipulated by beings and entities on the other side. And they are there. Yes. But you are bringing them to you, those entities, and what they tell you. You are manifesting them. So following revocation of soul contracts does work as an unconscious, conscious incentive to free your mind from all those limiting ideas that are the ones causing the entities in the first place. I'm asking, so you revoke decisions you made based on limiting ideas your soul had, right? Yes. Because as we said, when we die, we take the matrix with us, we take the ideas with us, and sometimes we can make decisions based on those understandings limited, carried over from the 3D understanding of things. And based on that understanding, then those entities approach us, we manifest them because it's a match, frequency match, and they tell us, well, based on that idea that you have, now you have to go back and do this and that. And that's contract we are creating. But that was made based on that limiting idea. So the soul revocation contract, so the contract, soul contract revocations is about basically revoking those ones that were made based on some limited understanding of things. It's freeing your mind here and beyond from those limiting perceptions of things, based on which later the entities cause you to make certain things, go back, be recycled, for example. So with your mind, with your decision, with the clarity, purpose, and intent, you are revoking all that. You are destroying all that based on the new understanding that you are acquiring right now in your life that is more freeing for your soul. Like, for example, the fact you don't have to be here again to be repairing anything and recycling anything. But here I'm asking, okay, I see, but how do you know which decisions were based on limiting ideas? And she says, they all are. So you must free yourself from everything. And that means to elevate your consciousness and frequency and density with it. I say, okay, they all are limiting. Well, when then the fact that I can't remember who I am because of some agreement I decided from above, why can't I revoke that decision not to remember my identity from here? So why can't I decide I don't want to not to remember? If it's all limiting and I can just revoke it. And well, here it's a bit different situation because it depends what kind of agreement and contract it is. So here she's saying, it is not as simple as just saying you don't want the contract. Some are simple, yes, like for example, the church one. It's a paper of ownership, you were baptized, so it's easy to break. As it is, but others contracts, agreements are dealing with the nature of reality and even why you have that body there in 3D. As it's the same as in breaking your contract that says that you cannot fly as a bird. You just won't. And in theory, you can. But you have a powerful machine working against you. You're unconscious. Your unconscious is much stronger, like 100 times more. So just stopping here for a second, yes, some agreements, the fact that, for example, she was explaining this one time, why the immersed people don't remember who they are. One of the reasons is because if you remembered, you would basically lose yourself now, in the sense that even your body would start to reflect who you are in 5D. That's a very interesting information, actually. If you suddenly remembered, then slowly, gradually, or fast, you would start to reflect that original imprint, because that's original you in 5D from which you are projecting through the immersion program. So basically, you would no longer be you. And that's one of the reasons why, those contracts are still in place. So not all of them can be broken that easily, and they are there for a reason. And they deal, like she said, with the whole nature of reality. Like, for example, collective agreements that we cannot fly. So these types of agreements are deeper, and some of them are there for a reason. Now, when she's talking about unconscious being much stronger, like 100 times more, I say, well, I am much more powerful than my unconscious. I declare it. I can beat my unconscious. And she says, that is the way. You just have to keep at it. Keep at it in your mind. May take time, but consistency is what matters here. And if you do that, if you are able to be consistent, you can slowly start breaking all these rules of the realities, agreements, and deeper soul collective contracts. Like even, I don't know, walking through walls. Why can't I walk through walls? What kind of contract is this? So it's very interesting. Now this ties with the next question, actually, about the scripts and contracts and things planned from above. I was asking about tragic accidents and tragic events and, during which people die. And is this something also planned from above? And I mean, exactly the type of accident and all that, or could just some things happen unplanned? And this is what she says. People die tragically all the time, 3D or 5D. Yes, it happens in 5D as well. But they made themselves a match for those events. And from some point of view, those were planned as their way out, even at young ages. And from another point of view, it is a tragedy, something horrible and sad. There is no death above, yes, but it is irresponsible and cruel to say that there is no death from the 3D Earth point of view. So she understands, there is no earth, no death, but it still is a tragic event, especially from the 3D point of view. And I say especially because here we don't have a recollection of past lives. We don't have this natural understanding of immortality. I ask here, you said everyone has a script. Is the way of dying also in the script? Or are you affecting, influencing that during your life, becoming a match to this or that event? And she says, yes, it is in a script from one point of attention above in very high densities, and a horrible accident from another point of view attention. Both are valid simultaneously. From above, everything is a script. From below, you have free will, and you made yourself a match to that horrible event. And this ties also with the last video that I made about the free will and no free will. And just remember, in order to fuse ourselves more and more with our higher self, be that higher self, grow as a soul consciousness, we need to be able to hold more than one perspective in view, as reality is not just 3D. The reality doesn't just occur on one level, it's very scalar, multi-density. So we have to be able to hold separate points of view and sustain them as perfectly valid both. As, for example, when they say, we are all one. Okay, we are all one, but we are also individuals, right? So the same way as we are all one, but also individuals, there is free will, but from high up, there isn't. Just the same as you are an individual, but you are also one with your neighbor because you are all one. So there is no point fighting against that. Like, oh no, that's it. I have free will. That's a contradiction. I don't know. Just the same way as you are not fighting against the fact that we are all one, right? No one says that's a contradiction. It's not all one because I am me and he is he and she is she. We are all one. Even though you are you and you are you. There's no contradiction. It just depends on what platform of thought you are standing to look at these concepts. And remember also, to understand these videos, especially those larger videos, you must follow them from the beginning, because there is a line of progress and advancement, and the ideas get more and more complex, and they build on each other. So I would always recommend to watch those previous videos, not just base your opinion of things on one video, one random video. You'll never understand them, the Taygetans and Svaru's and Yashi's understanding of things from just one video. Let's go back to the scripts. I'm asking here. Okay, but from higher densities, it is a script. Okay, so there are no deaths that are not part of the script, like purely random accidents against your higher planes? And Yaski responds, in higher planes, there are no accidents. So from above, everything is a script. Everything. But like very, very, very high, from what she would call 9D, 11D, sort of, even though there are no Ds. I asked, why would someone script a horrible kind of accident, death, as their exit? And this is an interesting answer. Because it is designed and written from above, where things have a different meaning. So they fall into a trap of their own making, as they do suffer in 3D, 5D. I insist, things do have a different value as you move up in frequency. Even ethics and norms, correctness, good and evil have different meanings. Your mind is simply too open, too broad in understanding. For example, ethics cannot apply above, not the same ones, as seeking true understanding of everything is more important than a concept, as in ethics applied to respecting others. What others? It's only me. So here is 11D feeling, very, very high feeling. What others? There is no others, it's only me. And this actually reminds me of something I felt very, very long time ago, once when I was in a restaurant and I was looking down on the first floor. I was on the second floor and I had a plate in front of me, and suddenly I had this very strange feeling like I was in some kind of a dream. And I realized, if I just take this plate and throw it down to the ground and it breaks, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It just means nothing. It doesn't matter. No one, I can just be throwing plates all around in this restaurant. Why do I have to follow these ethics of behavior? Why can't I just be throwing plates all around? And I felt like I was in some kind of an astral realm for a second. And it was so overpowering that I had to stop myself, resist from throwing really that plate. And she says, yes, but then you realize that you are also in the astral when you are awake. She basically says, yes, you are in the astral when you are awake as well. And you awaken in that moment to the fact that you never have left the astral. We are in the eternal astral. And it is here when you can suddenly realize you can play with reality as you do in the astral. And that's when you start walking through walls or making your own rules. Because that's when you realize the fact that you think you are living under the established reality with certain norms and rules, that's an idea. It's an idea that you're adhering to. But once you realize that's not how it is, then you can start breaking through those rules. And like Yaski now, she can walk through walls and do all these things that even Taygetans can't. But it's all within our reach. It's all possible to do. So that's very cool, very interesting. I want to close this with the last subject. And this is a subject regarding, this whole situation, what's happening and fighting and, the war and all that. And, sometimes we do feel, I'm saying me, a bit frustrated and tired with this whole situation, of course. All of us are. And, sometimes I'm even asking myself, is it really worth it, what we all do? And I'm not just talking about me as me and Robert in this Taygetan work, but all of us who are working against this anti-COVIDers, who are trying to wake people up to this. Like, is this worth it? People are not waking up, and the cabal seems like they are progressing with their plans, and nothing is changing. And I'm not saying that's really how I feel. I just had that moment, like I was frustrated, and I was feeling a bit down for a few days. And then, I was asking, is it really worth doing what we do still? And Yaski responded. She says, the answer is not whether you are helping people or doing it for them. You must do it for yourself. Don't let yourself aside. If you are not doing it for yourself, it is not worth doing. This way, the result does not depend on others, and you are free from expectations. Makes you harder, like water. I do this because it is who I am and who I have been forever. We only offer another perspective to those who care listen. And then we go on with our lives somewhere else. We are just being ourselves. Yes, and that's basically how I always feel about this. I'm doing this because I feel this is who I am, and I want to help fight the fight, and I want to do what I feel is a correct thing to do. So in a way, we are just doing this to ourselves to fulfill basically who we are, to stand by what's right and just according to our perspective. And then she says here, and not just to me, but to all of you who are fighting this and who are, struggling there to make people understand the situation. She says, keep doing whatever you can do, and as much as possible, and then do some more. You are literally in a different world with those people, with those, don't you feel sometimes like you are speaking to someone and you are explaining and you are showing all the data and explanations, and they are just not there? They are like dismissing it, like you are invisible. And that's what she was talking about, what she said a few months ago, many months ago actually, about the fractured timelines. How actually the timelines are split and we are literally living in different timelines. Literally in a different world. So here she's saying, that's what I meant months ago with the split timelines. Being in the same room with other people who don't think like you does not mean that they are in the same timeline as you are. You are trying to pull them all into yours because you can see more than them. But they are not interested because they lack all mental context to even start to comprehend how you think and why. And this also ties in with what she's always saying about how if you are from 5D, for example, sticking to that 5D, 3D thing, if you have a vision 5D, you can see and integrate what the 3D perceives, but never the other way around. If your mind is still adhering to the 3D perception of things, then they are not going to be able to see. You'll be invisible. Whatever is coming from the other side, from the 5D, from beyond, higher understanding of reality, it's not going to work because they are not going to see you. You are literally to them in an invisible world, in another timeline. It's like you are there, but you are not there. They are there, but they are not there. There is no match. So don't feel too frustrated, because we are literally being in different timelines, even being in the same room with those people. And here she's saying, we are fighting against the current. But the thing is that the big current is what the people want. That's what humans want. Whatever is happening, the limitations from the higher level, that's what they want, not the star seeds. We don't want that. We are coming from different worlds where we remember things in a different way. This is not just to us. This is absurd. This is a circus. So this is not what we want, the star seeds. But this is what those souls, even though they are manipulated, want and manifest from the higher planes. Because as we talked about before, many times the soul learns through the limiting experiences, through limitations. That's how they go defining themselves. So they believe they need this kind of limiting experience in order to have more definition of themselves. But that's also an idea. And we are trying to break them from that idea. But at the same time, the decision is on them. So this is what the humans want, not the star seeds. Even though, and here we were both angry, because these days I was angry, she was angry. So I'm going to read it exactly as she said it, okay? There's some language there, but they can be like that as well. I can be like that too. So she says, that's what the human wants, not the star seeds. Even though you may say that no one wants to be pricked with poison, they have made themselves compatible with that. And you may say they are manipulated, and they bloody well are. Yet it is still them, the people, who permitted all that to be done to them. Because the problem is scalar, not only on one level. So even though they may not want to be pricked with poison on one level, they do on another, because of some sick cosmic frequency match, she says. This is the problem with the law of mirrors, or law of attraction, as the New Agers say. You get into shit. The more bloody shit you get, that's a cosmic certainty. And in their bloody shit game, they will and are dragging the rest of the people, the non-humans, the starseeds, with them. And that's the part that makes me so bloody angry, even though I know the starseeds got themselves into that bloody shit themselves as well. People are waking up, but they live in another parallel reality. They are incompatible and they do not mix, even if they eat at the same table. They live in two different timelines. They are split, as I said months ago. And then I ask, but why are we being dragged into their reality and not them into ours? The answer, dominant frequency principle. Dominant frequency principle. That's one. And another is that from above, we came here, the starseeds, for the experience of being a system buster. And in a way, I feel this, I agree with this, I recognize this. This is familiar to me. I enjoy being a system buster. I love it. So in other words, we are here because we also got ourselves into a match of the frequency. We love to bust through the lies and through deceptions, and so that's why we manifested ourselves here. I'm talking for me, of course, and most starseeds. Some of you may not feel this exactly the same. You might be here for different reasons. The war, just remember, it's not over until it's over, like she said. It's not over, on the other hand. It's not over until the fat lady sings. And here, I'm also asking, okay, it seems, Yaski, that we don't have enough starseeds in higher ranks. Okay, all these broken shoes people are very relevant, key people and all that. Yes, I understand and I agree with that. But we also have to infiltrate into high ranks. The lawyers, doctors, judges, the media, military. Imagine like if I'm an owner of a serious media network, then I could do serious damage then. Because if I'm just a simple YouTube channel owner, or if I'm a baker without any depreciation of the bakers, what can we do really? Our power is limited in a way. Well, why? So I ask here, why don't we as starseeds incarnate in high ranks more? And she says, because basically they get taken out as the starseeds try to infiltrate higher grounds. Another problem or fact is that someone important in 5D is not necessarily important in 3D and vice versa. Everything gets weird in the sense that some people can and may do more damage to the matrix as a simple person than as a powerful politician, but there are no fixed rules. And here I say, okay, but I was still insisting on that, but incarnate more into higher ranks, media, important law firms. Incarnating into broken shoes is not enough sometimes. YouTube channel owners, bakers, sorry to all the bakers. And here she again repeats, she says, well, because the Cabal takes them out before they can do anything. And now, interesting fact, even the PCR tests are meant to look for the genetic traits that help the Cabal localize the starseeds and take them out. They are making a genetic database. Having said that, some starseeds who are already doing the work, they leave them alone. Like, for example, David Icke. Why? Because actually, as I'm finding out from Yaski, some of these starseeds, when taken out, they can do more damage from the other side. They are more dangerous if they die and wake up on the other side. And that's what the Cabal fears also. So they leave them alone here. And also another interesting point why those starseeds don't infiltrate more higher ranks. Because to be a politician, you need to hold their same frequency. And that is incompatible with one of starseeds. And you'll understand this more here soon. I said, okay, but walk into, like there are walk-in souls, walk into the media owner, empty shell, they are matrix people, empty people, just walk into some of them, the empty media owner, and start telling the truth on your network. Imagine the type of damage that can be done. Why isn't that done more? Aren't there enough empty shells in higher ranks to walk into? She says, those shells are in important places and have reptiles in them. I don't want to say it is not possible, but it's not easy, and it has already been tried out. I said, why it's not easy? And she says, because they are not empty. They have owners. If they are in power, then they have regressive beings managing them. It's not as easy as it sounds. And as I mentioned above, there is a frequency issue, and that's a big problem. Remember the starseeds vessels. Before you walk in, for example, most starseeds are walkings, and their bodies are actually prepared beforehand. Sometimes, most of the time, actually, if not always, their mothers are abducted and taken on a ship and prepared in order to sustain the frequency of the starseed if they are walking from the birth, for example. So the body needs to be conditioned. So that's why the frequency here is a big issue. If you are walking into an empty shell or some low frequency, person. So she says, remember what I told you before. You need to condition a body before. Condition a body before that walking. That's why the Greys do so many abductions and all that. And more about this very soon in the video Abductions in detail. We talked about this with Aneka very recently. Okay, so I said, so abduct a higher ranking military shell guy walk into him, operate him. She says, sounds good, but I insist there are just too many technical issues. And remember that if they have power, then there is a reptile close by. Mass disobedience is the key, but we need the masses to team up, and they are all divided and fighting over stupid things. And I said, yeah, just like the Federation up there. And she says, the mess on Earth has its origins here. It is only a density reflection, mirror of the mess the Federation is. It's both reflecting each other. I said, yeah, exactly. It's not just humans to be blamed. Both are at fault, because both are the same thing. Humans, Federation, starseeds, all that. It's all so mixed. And then she says something interesting. When I blame a human, I'm also blaming the creature inside, soul. And that creature is Federation. See, that's why it is so complex and so convoluted. And finally, we talked with Ragel, and he offered his point of view on this whole situation of fighting, no fighting. Is it helping? Is it working? Are we doing enough damage? Are we doing any damage at all? What is this for? And she says, finally, you fight because it is the correct thing. You need to understand, he says, that you are right in the middle of the battle. And sometimes when you are in the middle of the battle, you cannot exactly see the full perspective of the damage being done, and you cannot know the result. So sometimes you cannot see the type and amount of damage that we do until the battle is over. I feel, he says, that we are not seeing or perceiving the full and true damage that all the resistance groups are doing to the New World Order. And why? Because they control the information. So we cannot see damage report, because that kind of damage report could only come from them. And the last thing they would want to do is reveal their vulnerabilities. But that does not mean we are not doing damage. And with that, I'm going to end this video that happened to be quite long, but I think all these topics were very interesting. We are doing damage. We are making damage or doing damage. I should know this as an English teacher that I was. So we are creating ripples, and what every one of you out there does to assist with this whole war for the humans is relevant. So stay at it, stay strong. Remember all the points mentioned here in the video. Stay persistent. Understand that we are living truly in parallel realities with majority of these people who don't seem to understand, who we are like invisible to them. So don't get too frustrated. Do it for yourself. Do it because in your soul you know this is right. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Thank you very much, Yaski. Thank you very much, Aneka, and thank you very much, Ragel, for providing information for this for tonight's episode. Thank you very much, and until the next video. By the way, the next video will be finally the ancient history. Bye.